Hey, what is going on YouTube? It's me back again. I'm going to be making some more content on the Scion TC as I promised I would do. I said I would do more tutorials if I'm doing anything that there's not any video help for. So this will help my other TC owners and maybe owners of any other vehicles, whether it be Toyotas or whatever, that just want to do an OEM seat swap. I'll let you know what kind of things you need to look out for and what kind of snags I run into. Now, it's very important to remember before you start with anything that has to do with airbags, because these seats do have airbags in them, that you disconnect your battery first. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect the battery, and then we'll move on to disconnecting the seats from the car. Alright, our battery has been disconnected. Now we're going to give it about a 10-minute time window for that airbag to discharge. Same thing as you would if you were replacing an airbag on the steering wheel. And after that 10 minutes has elapsed, we will move on to the seats. Alright, so for our first step, we're going to go ahead and pull these plastic trim pieces off of the seat rails here. They should just be a simple slide off. Now after that, what you're going to want to do is grab a 14mm breaker bar, like this one I've got here. You're going to put it on, you're going to break it loose. After you break it loose, it should be relatively just hand tight to get them off. So we're going to get this side off, and then we're going to move on to that. And I will jump with you guys once we move on to the back. Alright, so both 14mm bolts have been removed from the front seat. So now what we're going to do is pull our rail here, and we're going to slide the entire seat forward. Grab this guy, tilt it forward. Excuse the mess back here. I'll clear this up, and then we can move on to pulling off the back bolts. Alright, so we're going to want to remove our floor mat here. Nice, quarter. And then we move on to these plastic trim pieces back here. So if we go ahead and sit in our back seat, you can get a good view of how these come out, right? So these are going to be very similar to the front. You're going to pull them, and you're going to pull them backwards. So these back ones are a little bit more difficult. Oh, there we go. Just out like that. Pop that loose on that side, and it's off. Now we move on to our other side. Very similar for this one, right? You're gonna lift up. There we go. All right, just popped up, out, and so now you have access to your two 14mm bolts on this side. So we're gonna reach around, grab a breaker bar, and then we're gonna put it where it needs to go. And we're loose. All right, I'll jump with you guys once we have these two bolts removed. All right, you can see those two bolts have been removed. So now we're gonna move on to lifting up the seat and disconnecting the airbag connector. All right, so the next thing you're gonna wanna worry about is your two connectors here. This is gonna be your airbag sensor module, and this is going to be for your airbag specifically. So you have a couple of connectors on here, right? Pull it off, disconnect our airbag, and this bad Johnny here. All right, so for this connector, there's a white tab here. You're gonna press down on it, pull that connector off, and then we're also gonna wanna disconnect the harness tie down to the seat right here. So I'm gonna pop that off, and then we'll just pull the seat off. All right, our harness is 100% disconnected. So we're going to take this seat and we're going to move it inside the house. And we're going to move on to the process of removing your stock TC seat rails. So right here, I have Scion FRS seats. As you can tell, they are technically Subaru seats. So they use a lot of the same sensors. Fortunately, Subaru and Toyota, they both use Denso, so a lot of the parts are interchangeable. But as you can see here, we have some Subaru parts here. I don't think they're really specific between Toyota or Subaru. We have a lot of the same stuff. But what I went ahead and did was I pulled the seat rails off of both the FRS seats and the TC seats. So to do that, you'll see on the top, these are the FRS rails. So you have these bolt heads coming up. There's going to be nuts on the top of them, and they're going to correspond with the bracket on the stock seat. as you can see there. So you go ahead and get a wrench up in here. You get those off. The next thing you're going to look out for, especially with your TC seats, is you have sensors. These are your airbag sensors. And then after the airbag sensors, there is the power plug for the airbag, which should be pretty much the same. Now, the issue you're going to run into between the FRS seat and the TC seats is this style of connector here. These are your airbag sensors to, detect that you're sitting in the seat for your passenger. This is specifically for the passenger side. I'll roll around to the driver's side when we get to that. The main hiccup is going to be getting all of this wiring out for these sensors. So what we're going to do, since we've unplugged all of them, is I'm going to mark what parts they all correspond with, and I'm going to pull this whole harness off, and I'm going to attach it to that seat, and I will be back with you guys once I get all of that wiring pulled out. Now you can see better what we've done here. So we drilled an additional hole here and here for that front piece to go through. The back piece completely clears that and that. And then in the front as well, the front one will completely clear that notch and that notch that we cut. Now you're going to run into a slight clearance issue here and here if you install the nuts that are supposed to be on these, right? So on the rail. So let me show you how this is going to work, right? Front right in reference to this. So you take it, install it, bolt hole facing down. Same thing here, right? Both sensors facing inboard of each other. Front right, front left, rear left, and rear right. Now this is in reference to the rails being installed upside down. So we're going to go ahead and take these, we're going to bolt them down, but only the most forward and the most rear nuts are going to get bolted down so we can clear it on our FRS seat. Now you can see most forward, most rear. And we're going to take this, we're going to flip it and transplant it onto that. Alright, so our rails are completely 100% mounted flush. Required a little bit of extra dremeling and drilling, especially, let me just go around here. The clearance on the front up there was quite difficult to get that nut to clear. This side I notched it right the first time, but the other side I struggled quite a bit with. So all that we're going to do next is we're going to get our wiring all set up in here. We're going to plug everything in, and then I'm just going to bolt it up and go throw it in the TC, and we'll see how it fits. And look at that. We retain our OEM look. OEM clips work. Slide the seat back. Just give it a little nudge. Look at that. I mean, she needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but I mean, look at how much of an improvement that is over the TC's stock seats. Not to mention this seat's significantly lighter if weight savings are what you care about while retaining an OEM look. Although I would assume if you're going for OEM plus, weight savings is not really what you're going for. But, this is going to complete most of my process of converting everything over with FRS parts. Because as you can see, we have an FRS steering wheel. We have an FRS shift knob. Now we have matching FRS seats, which is just immense. I mean, considering the amount of help that you're able to get online for these sorts of things is minimal. This car is not very often modified, and doing weird, unorthodox shit like this that doesn't require just buying a bunch of aftermarket stuff, it's not really something that's touched on very often. But I think the final result there with the passenger seat is just night and day. So yeah, tomorrow I'm going to go ahead and replace that driver's seat. I'll give you guys some quick tips on some things that are different over on the driver's seat as far as the wiring goes. But we'll transplant all of that. I'll walk you guys through every step of the process, and then we'll have our complete product. So yeah, with that, I'll pick this video back up once I replace that seat tomorrow. Real quick before we jump over to the final product, just want to show you guys real quick, battery is re-hooked up, and we're going to test to see if the SRS light comes on. If it doesn't, then we are all good as far as our wiring job goes, which was just transplanting sensors. There was nothing crazy going on with that, but I want to prove to you guys that it does work. Give me 1 second. After I disconnect the battery, she tends to get a little temperamental while it relearns. There we go. Brake light's on. We have our ABS light on. That's normal. The battery light's actually not glowing. That's just... It's weird. It picks up on camera like it's glowing, but to the naked eye, it's not actually on. And you can see that we do not have any kind of SRS light going on. See all of our lights on our dashboard here. And yeah. No, everything's great over there. We'll just do a quick check behind our radio. Oh man, it's really hard to see. But yeah, see nothing crazy going on there. Alright, now we have both the TC seat and the FRS seat inside. So you can see there's some major differences with the setup of both of these seats. The driver's side seat on the TC has airbag sensors, which it's a harness that runs through the entire seat. So we're going to have to gut these sensors and we're going to have to transplant them over to the FRS seat. Now that shouldn't be an issue. I've already done it with the passenger side. So I'm going to go ahead and start the process of getting all the harnesses out, getting the rails off, and I will come back with you guys once we move on to the rail removal portion. So when you're disconnecting your sensors between the two seats, the important thing to keep in mind is that they have two different styles of seatbelt clips here. So this one's held on by a 14mm bolt and it is wired in with a sensor. So you're going to want to take this right here, put 14mm on it. So we've got it broken loose. You're just going to take this guy off. And your seatbelt clip is removed. So we're now at the most difficult part of the swap. So I had to cut this bad boy off and cut into the metal encasing for the lower half of the seat to access this nut down here. This is one of 3 on this side that holds the rail down on this side. And on this side we have 1, 2, and 3 up here as well. And on the 3rd day, the Lord said, "Let there be Dremel." Alright, update. The stock TC rails are off of the TC seats. Ended up being way too much of a pain to get on video, but you basically have to cut a notch to access the nut on the side of the seats. The rest of them you got to get off, but you got to use some real small wrenches. There's just not a lot of clearance. But now that we are here, as you can see, the driver's side between the FRS and TC seats lines up perfectly. The only issue is on this side, our airbag sensor gets in the way. So we're gonna go ahead and move that guy to a better spot. But I want to go ahead and demonstrate for you guys that those do line up perfectly. Now we have the bracket for the seat belt, so all we got to do is slide it into the seat. Right about there, we're going to put it in the bracket, and then we will we'll cut back to when I'm removing that sensor over there. Alright, so we've got our Torx bit, which you're going to need for this, and we're just going to crank this guy off, and I will jump back to you guys once we have this bit off of the seat. Alright, we have our sensor off here. It's magnetic, and we're going to bend this bracket back, and then we're going to go ahead and mount the rails. Alright, so I ended up just dremeling this guy off. Bending it was a little too difficult, so it was easier to just dremel it and get it out of the way. So we're going to go ahead and get it mounted on the FRS seat, get the sensors wired up, and I will show you guys the process for that. And there we go. Everything's lined off. Seatbelt bracket is installed, which is going to be for this guy right here. We're going to run this wiring loom as well as connect that sensor, this guy right here, back up to the seat. And go ahead and get everything tightened down. We will then get her in the TC. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how we're gonna run the sensor real quick. So under here, you have all this caging. There's a couple of pass-through spots. So we're going to take our loom here. We're going to run it through so we can hook up our seatbelt. All right, so as you can see, we can hook up our seatbelt there. We're gonna go ahead and run this loom underneath. It's real simple, real easy. This guy's gonna be our harness that's gonna connect to the car. So we're gonna go ahead and slide that onto our factory fittings. As you can see here, we have these little guys right here. Go ahead and slide our airbag onto that tab, push it back into place so it's mounted, and it's going to be the same deal with this. Take this guy, slide it on like that. That's mounted, and this little line of wire here, we're going to go over here. Going to take our magnetic contact here, and really you can put it just about anywhere and it'll work okay. You know, it's just however you want to hang it. I think the thing is, this magnetic pickup is looking for that magnetic signal to figure out if you're sat in the seat or not. So if we just connect this, it's always going to have that airbag on, and we won't get any ABS lights. And here we are. The final step of this entire very time-consuming process. So we're just going to take our connectors here. I'm going to slide these bad boys on. 1 and 2. And this connector we'll just leave up under there. And drop our seat down. We're going to remember to grab our bolts. And we also have these little connectors right here, or my apologies, these protectors. So you can see, slide that on right there. There's one on this side as well. Slide those protectors on, they'll line up with these holes, and we're just gonna nestle this bad boy back into place. Go ahead and set that up there. And just like that, now take our bolts, slide them in. This side as well. Take a seat. Slide this guy down there. And now the back bolts. Now we're just going to slide our factory plastic bits back on for the seat trim. Sure that it goes in nice and snug. Nice. And this side. It's going to be a very similar ordeal. Slide her on like that. Connect it on the bottom. And there we go. Now we can move our seat back. Just like that. And recline it. And there we go. Installation is complete. All right, next thing we want to do is to connect our battery. Just like that. Tighten on down on it real quick. This is perfect. This is how I wanted my TC to be. These seats are immensely comfortable. So everything works, man. We are using the factory seat rails, so we're able to slide around. It is the exact same thing on the passenger side. You can manipulate it like that. It's as if it came from the factory this way, which, you know, what more could you ask for if you're trying to do an OEM plus build, or if you just want more comfortable seats? So I think this is a general proof of concept of the fact that you can literally make any seats work in your car. You just got to use the stock TC rails. They suck to get off. You know, it's practically going to be impossible to get your hands on them. But when it's done, man, when it's done, it is just amazing. I mean, let's get out real quick and just take a look at this. I mean, wow. So, that's all I got for you guys on the tutorial on how to swap the seats out. I really do hope you guys, I hope you guys appreciated this, just as I did the thing for the steering wheel as well. I might do something for shift knobs at some point. It's pretty straightforward, but, you know, I've gotten asked a few questions about it, so, but other than that, yeah, I'm going to let you guys go. I hope this tutorial was massively helpful for you guys, and with that, peace.